So it's come to light that the grand jury who presided over the Breonna Taylor thing, they were never recommended to be able to charge the officers with murder or anything, which is why they weren't allowed to have those charges pressed. It's pretty fucked up, and it's showing a bit of a cover-up, in my opinion.
Welcome back to CBS This Morning. We are learning about a surprising move by one of the grand jurors who looked into the Breonna Taylor case. That juror is calling for information from the secret proceedings to be made public. Meantime, the Kentucky Attorney General confirms he did not recommend murder charges to the grand jury. Taylor, of course, was killed in March during a botched police raid. And the grand jury decided last week not to charge the Louisville police officers with any crimes in connection with Taylor's death. Adriana Diaz is in Louisville for us. Adriana, good morning to you.
Good morning. This is so unusual that an attorney familiar with the case told me he has never seen anything like this. In the notice, the grand juror says they only want the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. But the reason the Attorney General is releasing these proceedings is because he was ordered to do so by a judge. It happened yesterday at the arraignment for former Detective Brett Hankinson. News was breaking by almost the hour yesterday, and late last night, the Attorney General's office told us that they do plan to release those secret proceedings.
The grand jury voted to return an indictment against Detective Hankinson.
Last week, Kentucky Attorney General Daniel Cameron announced that the grand jury in the Breonna Taylor case would only charge former Detective Brett Hankinson with wanton endangerment for firing his weapon into Taylor's neighbor's apartment. Yesterday, Hankinson was arraigned, pleading not guilty. Then, in a stunning twist, a member of that grand jury filed a notice requesting the proceedings be made public. According to the notice, the juror accused Cameron of using the grand jurors as a shield to deflect accountability and responsibility for these decisions.
Which, this isn't uncommon. This is one reason why cops are usually sent to a grand jury, unlike everybody else. It's so that they can immediately pretty much have any charges dropped against a cop, and it's basically A-okay for everybody.
Detective Cosgrove and Sergeant Mattingly were justified in returning fire because they were fired upon.
Late last night.
Wait, that makes no sense. They broke into a house and somebody was defending themselves and their SO, so they're legally considered the defenders because somebody fired first. That would be like if some random stranger broke into your house and you shot at them, and then the other people or other person, killed one of your family members. It would be considered okay because you shot first. That shouldn't work just because they're a cop.
Cameron confirmed he only recommended the charge of wanton endangerment against Detective Hankinson to the grand jury because he said the evidence supports that the other officers were justified in the shooting out of self-defense.
You believe this is a cover-up?
Absolutely, it was a cover-up.
Frederick Moore, the attorney for Kenny Walker, Taylor's boyfriend, believes the evidence will show the officers violated the law when they shot at Taylor and Walker. Walker admits to firing a warning shot first. Officials say that shot hit an officer. Walker's attorneys say it may not have.
I believe when all of the facts are revealed, people will see that these officers were not justified in their actions.
These developments,
according to ballistics information, it's somewhat inconclusive if Walker's shot actually hit Mattingly, or if it was friendly fire from a cop. Supposedly, Mattingly does also own a 9mm. The cop that had gotten shot in the upper thigh or such.
It's come the same day Vice News published audio reportedly from an interview Louisville police investigators conducted with SWAT Commander Lieutenant Dale Massey, who responded to the scene after the shooting.
It was just egregious act. I mean, from our perspective, if that's in fact what happened. I mean, if other details come to light, it is what it is.
The audio has
If that's in fact what happened, it was just an egregious act. So even this guy can tell that these cops they fucked up big time, and now it's trying to be covered up to make it look like the cops were justified, because everybody knows that the cops were not justified.
not been independently verified by CBS News, but David James, the president of the Louisville Metro Council, says these developments degrade the integrity of the case.
I don't know how the grand jury could have came up with its conclusions.
A former prosecutor and criminal defense attorney tells us that releasing these secret grand jury proceedings sets a, quote, terrible precedent. The Attorney General's office deadline to do so is noon tomorrow.
It's going to set a great precedent. We need to prevent the cops from being able to hide various information about themselves or their cases. They're public servants, so they're beholden to the public, and the public should be able to know as much about them as possible.